Hello, everybody. All right, everybody, I'm going to have everybody mute their audio. Or I can mute you, actually. There you go. And when Danielle gets on, she will explain. Okay, everybody mute their audio as you come on, please. Oh my God. Everybody mute their audio, please.
Get ready.
All right, if you have not muted your audio, please go to the bottom of the screen and press mute on the menu bar. If you are on a computer, you can slide your cursor down and it will say mute, stop video. Just click that red bar. Okay, I still have a couple of you that are not muted, so please mute. All right. Danielle, are you there?
I'm here.
Great. All right, Danielle is going to explain how to ask questions.
Hello. So to ask questions, there is a chat function. If you're on a computer, it's probably on the very bottom. If you're on like a tablet, you would go up to the top and where it says participants, you could click on that and find the chat function. And so then you'll just type in your questions to me in that chat, and then I will ask them to Bobby throughout the webinar. Hopefully that makes sense. Anybody wants to test it out really quick and let me know if it's working?
Yep. Have everybody, if you don't mind, go to the chat function and click on chat and just type in that you understand it, you see it, so that we know how to get your questions.
All right, got it.
Great, a few of you.
Yep.
Great, all right. I'm gonna move this peanut really quick. All right, so this webinar was designed to show you some safe ways to get your dogs on and off the peanut, safe exercises to use with the peanuts, and maybe a few combinations. If there is something that you would like to see, please put it in the chat window and Danielle will let me know. I'm going to start off though with a way for us to just kind of acclimate the dog to the peanut so that they understand that it moves, they understand how it feels. All right. Let me get my treats. All right. So if I am working with a dog who has never, ever, ever been on a peanut before, the first thing that I'm going to do is ask them to put their feet on it. And I'm going to hold it so that it doesn't move. I'm going to toss a treat away and have him come back up and put his feet on it. And this is what I want to see. I want to see the dog like running up here to put his feet on it. If I had a dog that was afraid, I would just kind of wait them out until they were willing to put their feet on it. But I would not necessarily coerce them into it. All right. So now he needs to understand that it moves. And so I'm still supporting it a little bit, but allowing it to move. so that he understands that it moves. And the reason that that's important is because the peanuts are going to move a little bit, whether they are stabilized in a peanut holder or not. They're going to move as we progress through exercises to make the exercise harder. When they're in a holder, and we're going to go through why you would use certain holders, why you wouldn't. But when they're in a holder, they don't really move that much. They do rock around a little bit, but they don't move back and forth. But I'm going to show you how you can make exercises more challenging. Drama is very intense on getting a treat that was underneath here. I think you got it. Okay. So after I know that they're okay with it, I am going to progress to asking them to actually roll it forward. And where this becomes challenging for some is we're always used to keeping the treats right here really close to us. And so in this exercise, you want to keep your hands out away from your body so the dog has weight to their rear legs. And so they have very little weight on their front legs. So looks like this. I'm going to keep my hand out. He's going to control the speed of the peanut. I didn't ask for the sit yet. Come here. So I'm going to show you the difference. If I keep the treats really close to me, this is what happens. I'm just basically luring him forward, and he's not really paying attention to the peanut at all. So that's why you want to make sure that you keep the treats out here, and you are controlling the speed that he's moving so that we don't injure him. Come on. Good. And notice that my hand is underneath his chin versus over the top. Ah. Good boy. Off. Off. Thank you. All right. Off. Does anybody have any questions about rolling the peanut forward before I move on to a sit stand while rolling?
I don't see any yet.
Okay. If you have one, just pop it in there and I will answer it. So the next part of the equation is teaching them to go to a sit. So you're going to have them roll the peanut forward, come down to their elbows, and sit. And you really do want the dog to hold on to the peanut so that they're working their shoulders by pulling that peanut back, but they're not leaning on it. So let me see if I can get Drama. This is more like he's leaning on it. See how he's struggling to keep it underneath him? So we really want him to be closer, and we want him to pull that peanut back towards him so that we're working the shoulders and the upper back. This is really all has to do with treat position. So if your treat position is too high, too low, depending on the dog, it can affect where they end up. If the dog is getting tired, they will likely go into more of a down like this than a sit, just because it takes less energy for them to drop to their front legs and then go into a down than it does to go into a folding down. So this is really one of the very first things that I try to do with dogs so that they understand how it works. Now, I've had a few dogs that have been very sensitive to the sound. So oftentimes I see people like this. They go like this. Put your feet up there. See how his ears were back? Because he didn't really like that sound either. Or the sound when their feet actually touch the peanut. They don't like that either. So I caution against, get off. I caution you to not pound on the peanut, especially when you're acclimating a dog to it. Also, somebody just turned their sound on. Oh, there we go. Okay. When you are acclimating a dog to a peanut, if you're doing this, what's the chance of him hitting me in the face with his head? pretty high. I've had it done. I got actually hit in the teeth with a Great Dane when I first started teaching this. Don't bend over towards the dog when you're asking them to get their front feet up on the peanut. Touch. Make sure that your head is not in the way. Plus, a lot of dogs don't really like you being bent over in front of them. So be careful of that. But oftentimes, in pretty much every fitness situation, I see a lot of people bending over the equipment, and they're doing this. Come up here, come up here, come up here, come up here, which works. Nope, don't back off. Hey, back, get back, 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 back. Hang on, I'll let you clean it up in just a second. So what I was saying was, it doesn't work in a lot of situations because the dog has to jump up. So you have to make sure that you bring the treats up higher. Okay, clean up. So if you are bending over towards the peanut, then you're reducing the amount of room that it takes for the dog to get onto the peanut. So always bring the treats up higher if you want them to be on. Drama, can you stop fussing with that for a minute? He says, no, I need to clean up. Okay, come on. Up. So if I'm doing this, he's gonna crawl across. But if I bring the treats up here, he's gonna stand naturally. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Off. All right.
Just real quick, Bobby.
Yes.
I got a message that the audio and video is kind of jerky, and I just wanted to see if anybody else is experiencing the same thing.
It might be their video.
Their Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to check.
All right. So hopefully on the recording, it will not be that way because it's recording my audio and video. So when you see the playback, you'll see it not jerky and cutting in and out. All right. Let's see if I can finish this without Drama dumping his treats over. All right. So how many of you, you can just put it in the comments, have a peanut holder? Or have made one?
A no, a yes.
And the person who's saying yes, what kind?
Your kind, which I'm assuming means a climb? Or,
like PVC.
So I think there's both climb and PVC.
Okay.
And MCO.
Does any?
So MCO,
Okay. So.
climb.
All right. So a couple people have the MCO, or at least one person. So a couple things. I don't have an MCO holder here. Not because they're not great. I just don't have one. The one thing I have heard about them, and I always caution people with, is check the welds regularly. I've had a few clients that have had the welds break. So before you put your dog on the peanut, just make sure that that those welds haven't come loose. And I believe that MCO will replace it if that happens. I don't know what their time frame is. You'll have to check with them. But that is one thing that does happen with those. And you do have to weight them down, depending on what kind of exercises you're doing. If you're doing anything with fast movement, you have to weight them down. And there's situations today that you'll see that you could never do any of those fast moving exercises that are often shown with the MCO holders with a PVC holder, because it just doesn't weigh enough. You'd have to find some way of weighting it down, or the climbs, because there's no way to strap the peanut to the climb, things like that. So the methods I'm going to show you today are, I have the PVC holder, I have the climb, and I also want to show, what if you don't have a holder? How do you manage the peanut without a peanut holder, and why would you want to? Because there are some really great benefits to not having the peanut in the peanut holder, as long as you can manage the dog and the peanut. So I'm going to start with that. Everybody has a couch, right? Theoretically. So my aerobic bench here is, it's shorter than a couch, but it is simulating just putting the peanut up against a surface that is lower. That surface could be 2 dining room chairs with the back of the chair against the wall and the seat out here. You could put your peanut right up against the dining room chairs, but you want something that allows room for the dog to move and not feel closed in between you and a wall. For many, 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 many years, I taught teaching people to put the peanut up against the wall. And I found that there was a fair amount of dogs that were unable to complete exercises for 2 reasons. One, they didn't know how to respond to the handler with the handler at the side of them. And 2, they just didn't like being in that confined space. So part of using the holders, which you'll see in just a second, is just being able to be at the end of the peanut, and it has its advantages and disadvantages as well. So the first thing I'm going to show you is, how do you manage without a holder? Lie down. Wait. So you're going to push the peanut up against, lie down, a hard surface, and you're going to turn sideways so that it allows room for the dog. Hop it up. And then you're going to manage the peanut and the dog with this leg. And you can't see my leg here probably. Danielle, if I put the peanut on the other side, will that help or no?
Yeah, just for a minute to show how you're stabilizing it.
Okay. Off. Okay. Pop it up.
Yeah, that
Good.
works.
Okay. Good. Can you still see him?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing that we have to look at is, can we stabilize the peanut so that it is, fairly stable at first for the dog? And can the dog obtain the right position? So the right position is front and rear feet at natural distance apart, as long as you're working on core. Can you down, up, stand, down. Good. And when they're on the peanut, it is best, if you have your behaviors on cue, because if they're following a treat, they're more likely to fall off and hurt themselves. It's more likely to get both of you off balance. So I'm going to show you here in just a second. I'm going to show you turns up here, luring. And see how he's really just paying attention to the treats and not really see how he's not moving his butt. He's not moving because he's just paying attention to food, and he fell off. Go get it. So I know that's exaggerated, but I just want you guys to see the difference when I put him on a peanut that is stabilized, because again, having those behaviors on cue is super, super helpful. Awesome. All right, so any questions about how to stabilize if you don't have a holder? Because several of you do not have a holder.
Not that I see.
Don't see any? Okay. All right. So this is the old style Fit Paws peanut, the one I just showed. And this is the new. Can you off for a second? Lie down. This is the new style. It is the Trax peanut. It allows me to be at the end using a peanut holder like this. That said, if he gets off balance, he's going to fall. I'm not going to be able to catch him because I'm not in a good position for that. Now, if I move to the side where I was, I'm in a little bit better position because I can grab him towards me. But if he falls off and I'm at the end, he's pretty much on his own. But now I'm going to have him turn circles the way we just did so that you can see the difference. Right. So can you see how he's really paying attention to where he's placing his feet versus just following a lure? Now I'm not going to lure him in this position because I can't support him, but I will show you the difference if I come to the side. So again, see, he doesn't want to move his rear feet because he's paying attention to the food. He bends his body all the way into a U or a C, past the point of where he can stay balanced, if that makes sense. When I am using the peanut holder, I do stand on it. You guys may have noticed I have a foot on it, and that's just to keep it from sliding. And again, this peanut has a saddle, but when he's standing with his weight distributed fairly even, that saddle kind of goes away, makes it more like a pill shape. You may also notice that this particular peanut, the Trax peanut, has a smooth area in the middle. It really helps for one thing. When I ask him to sit and then go back to a stand, he actually reaches back to the little nerve receptors back there. That kind of helps him figure out where to put his feet. Down. Good. Lie down. Stand. Stand. Good. All right. Now, there's a few different ways that you can get your dog off of a peanut. If it is a controlled jump down, I think that that's fine. What we don't want is for them to be jumping down and sliding on a slippery surface. Drama's not a huge fan of being picked up, but this is one way you can do it and put them down. That said, I'm twisting my body, which may not be good for my back, so be careful with that. I do really like, can you get off for a second? I do really like them to have something to go onto, Drama, so that it's not as far of a jump. So just like onto a platform or the climbs is fine. Lie down. Stop. All right. The last holder that I have to show you is the climb. Now the climb will fit a 50-centimeter peanut, which is the red one. It will also fit the 40 Trax. So the old red peanut will fit in here. If you don't have as much air in your blue one, it will also fit in here. But I've also found, since getting the Trax peanuts, that the yellow one is stabilized in here pretty well. Okay. Back. So if he leans too far forward, this peanut will flip in this holder. So you have to be really, really careful that their weight is distributed back. So I'm just going to exaggerate that so you can see it. See how he can flip it pretty easily? Some dogs will flip it as they're getting off, so be careful of that. You could put a yoga strap around the peanut or something like that to hold it in place better, but I have noticed, particularly with the climb, Mama, stop, lie down. Particularly with the climb, that it is more tippy. It is a lot more susceptible to being upset if the dog is not distributing their weight into the middle. Wait. Okay. All right. So see how he folds down. So even on the 40-centimeter peanut, he can fit. Uh-oh. Can you back? Back, 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 sit. Wait. Getting hung up a little bit on that one. Okay, there you go. So you can see that even on the 40, he can fit. He just can't do a whole lot of other things. Stand. He can sit and stand. But see how the peanut is shifting? Daniel, can you see how it's?
Yeah.
As when he stands, it moves up. This is not my favorite method of holding the peanut, because it also raises the peanut up 4 more inches off the ground. Whereas a regular PVC holder does not, the EMCO holder does not raise the peanut up off the ground. In most cases, raising it up off the ground is not necessary. It depends on the exercise that you're working on though. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments about using any of the different holders or anything we've talked about so far?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move this one. That way I won't trip over it anymore. All right. Well, you guys are a quiet group. I know, bad dog. Oh. Come here. Oh, lie down. 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 Sleep. All right. So we talked a little bit about, hopefully you can you see the whole bench?
Yeah, except for like the very like end where the yellow peanut is.
Okay, come here. So I just want to talk just briefly about the proper position. So this position that he's in here is pretty much the position that you want for standing on the peanuts. You want to make sure that the dog is not roaching their back, is not holding stress in their spine, because that's not actually engaging the muscles the way we want them to be. That said, they do need to bend as well as extend through their spine. So we also don't want to do so many exercises where their back is flat and stiff that they don't know how to bend either. So we need them to be able to jump appropriately. We need them to be able to bend and flex their spine. So one of the things that I did want to show was just having them actually bend. So I'm just gonna bring his nose down. Let me actually have him get off. Turn it this way. Go. Is that all in the view?
Yes.
I'm gonna have him bring his head down and just bend through his spine. And this is not like, a lot of you who may have taken my classes before, it's kind of like a C stretch, but it's just not asking as much. But it is asking for the core to be engaged while he's doing it. And I'm just supporting by putting a hand underneath his chest. I'm not lifting up. I'm just really guiding him with a treat. Good. Okay. So again, a controlled off, not just powering off, is okay. I don't really, it doesn't bother me to have them jump down if it's controlled. That said, there's a lot of us have fast moving dogs. If that dog, for instance, like a Malinois, is going to send that peanut flying, if it's not a controlled down. So you can either do that with, lie down. Just turning them from a down position, or you can ask them to come down this way. So if the peanut is too big, how many of you have bigger peanuts, like the 70 and the 80? Anybody?
Yeah, a couple so far.
Okay. So those peanuts are actually going to be discontinued. So I would advise getting those soon, because I do think they still have some in stock, but they are going to the Trax peanuts, just general information. Okay, Drama, stop. All right, unfortunately, when the equipment is near, Drama wants to get on it 100% of the time. Come here, lie down, down. All right, I'm gonna switch this to the other side. so that you can see how it can be paired with a solid surface. Wait, sit. So he's not moving his back feet. I want him to sit. Come on. No. Just come closer. Sit. Yes. Because if his feet are out where they were, it's more like a down. So we want his feet to, he thinks I want him to hop. Hang on. Drama, stop. Sit. That's more like a down. Can you guys see the difference? Come a little closer. Nope, not that close. Back. Good. Sit. That's more like a sit. Hopefully you guys can see that difference. Come here, I know. He's getting frustrated because he thinks I want him to hop. Drama. There you go, good boy. Come here. Wait, wait, wait. Good. Sit. That's more like a down. I don't want you to do that. I want you to get closer. Sit. There. That's better. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that difference. Good. Good boy. Super. Good job.
Question. So
Sure.
It's down to stand with no paws moving.
Yes. And so is the sit to stand. So in the sit to stand, I really do, it's not really a tuck. I just want to bring him as close as I can. But unfortunately, in this situation, he thinks that I want him to hop. So I want him.
Rock back sit to stand.
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of
and then the down would look more like that. That's a down. Come here. Sit. That's a sit. Good. Did you forget there was an edge there? Can you sit? Yes, good boy. Stand. So yeah, his front feet aren't moving in favor of putting more weight to his rear. I could also increase the challenge of this exercise by asking for a foot and then asking him to sit. And then ask him for a paw. And ask him to sit and stand. So what that does is it shifts weight to the opposing hind leg.
So you're asking for a rock back sit, not necessarily the tuck back sit.
I'm not asking for a tuck. No, I'm asking for a rock.
Okay.
So the difference here is, so this is a tuck sit and a kickback stand. Okay. Stand, stand. No. Yes. Come here. Yes. All right. Hang on. Lately, we've practiced the rock back more from a down. Down. So this is stand. This is a tuck. And that's a kickback stand. That's a rock back sit. And then a come forward stand. So the difference is in the tuck sit, he is stabilizing with the front and moving his rear. And in the rock back sit, he is shifting his weight to the rear, pushing with the shoulders. So it is still a full body exercise. It's just the transference of weight. Anybody have any more questions about that?
Not at the moment.
Okay, good. All right, so where I wanted to go from here was I wanted to show you having legs on two unstable surfaces. So I'm going to move the bench, so just give me a second. Oh, this is my brand new bench, by the way. I love it. This has a better surface than the old aerobic benches. This has more of a grippy surface. And I just found it on Amazon for like 58 bucks if anybody's interested.
Oh, so it doesn't have ridges?
It does not have the ridges, so you no longer have to put a yoga mat on it to do incline.
Oh, now I need new platforms.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I use the targets a lot to stabilize equipment. You might have noticed that I have targets underneath the climb platforms. It's just to keep them from moving on my floor. But I will also put one underneath the bone. So I'm going to show you kind of a progression of a sit stand. So what you just saw was a rock back sit with the rear feet on a stable surface, and there wasn't that much height difference. I mean, it was about that much, but it wasn't as far as the bone, and it was stable. So it wasn't that hard as far as how hard it can go to be. So I think what happens is we see exercises on, you know, wherever, at a workshop or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and we think, oh, I want to do that with my dog, but we don't really take into consideration the foundation pieces to get there. So before I would ask the dog to do sit stands that are really, really hard, like this, with two unstable surfaces, I would ask them to do it with their rear feet on a stable surface. So just like in the very beginning of the webinar, I showed his rear feet on the floor and his front feet on the peanut. And then I showed his front feet on the bench. And we were actually having a conversation. I would ask you, which one is easier, front or rear feet on the floor or rear feet on the bench with front feet on the peanut? You guys can type your answers in if you know the answer. Anybody answer yet?
Nope.
Okay, so rear feet on the bench and front feet on the stabilized peanut is a lot easier than rolling the peanut across the floor and having to stabilize that peanut, you know, to work the shoulders like I talked about, with the rear feet on the floor. Does that make sense to everybody?
No comment.
If it doesn't, somebody say it doesn't, and I'll show the rear feet on the floor again.
Oh wait, I got one maybe.
You got one maybe?
That makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay, so just to recap, come here. This is harder because he has to stabilize the peanut and his front legs are higher than they were on the stabilized peanut with the bench. Does that make sense? Maybe?
Yep.
All right, maybe when you guys go back to review, it'll make sense.
More yes.
Okay. All right, so here's the same exercise, only now we have rear feet on the bone. And I would say that the bone is a little bit too close to the peanut just because he's rocking it away. Those of you who have really heavy dogs, it will, if they put too much weight to the rear, it will actually roll the bone up. So you have to be really careful that they are squared up underneath them, meaning that their rear feet are in the center of the bone, not on the very edge, and that it's not going to rock behind them. Hang on, good. So this is more like a squat, and you'll notice I'm not having him stop at the bottom. This is because I'm loading the muscle and asking him to power up with it before it rests. So that's how we start to fatigue the muscle and help to build it. We don't always want to rest at the bottom of a squat because that disengages the muscles at the bottom and then asks them to activate again. We want them to stay activated throughout the whole movement. So in the beginning, when they're learning, it's okay to stop at the bottom. But when they advance to this stage, it is important to not have that break at the bottom. Any further questions? Danielle, there's some questions under everybody.
Right. There's one, it's my 70 popped after 2 weeks and I kept nails short. Is that unusual to happen? Is there anything I should do to avoid, to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Okay, so I will say this. Popping the peanut generally doesn't have anything to do with nails. What breed of dog was it?
That was going to be my question. A lab. No. Oh, a Rottie.
I was going to laugh if it was a lab, but I will say on average, what usually happens is the dog struggles or is asked to get on the peanut from the floor. So if you have a peanut holder like this, you push it back out here again, and you ask the dog to jump up on it, they grip it when they come up, and that can pop the peanut. If they're coming from a surface like a climb or a couch, they're less likely to pop it. If they get into trouble, like they are really struggling for position, they will grip it and it'll pop. In the time that I have been teaching fitness, which is 13 years, I had one round ball pop when I was using round balls, and I've had 3 peanuts pop in this whole time. And it was a golden retriever on the round ball and labs on the other one. Only because I think that a lab, when they jump up onto something, their feet don't spread as wide and they grip when they land. So the best way I can tell you would be to have something for the dog to go on and off, and let them off when they start to struggle. So I don't know what the situation was, but I've had newer peanuts are more susceptible to being popped than older peanuts, and peanuts that are fully blown up that have no give in them. So mine have give. See, I can push into them, you know, at least 2 inches. If you blow them up really, really tight, which I believe is how the FitPaws paperwork gives you a maximum size, which doesn't mean you have to blow it up to that size. It just means you don't want any bigger than that. So what you really need to do is make sure you have give in the peanut, so that when your dog does grip in, that it has movement. Otherwise, it is really easier to pop. Now, the new Trax peanuts, I will say, are not as easy to pop. They are more of a spongy material. I don't know if any of you have them yet, but if you feel the material of this versus the material of the other one, it is significantly different. I'll try to bring them close to the camera just so you can see. And see if I'm coordinated enough to do this. I don't know if you can tell the difference. They're kind of shiny. But the Trax peanut is spongier, and this is more smooth. All right, did that answer your question?
He also said he was jumping on from the floor, but it makes sense.
Yeah. So most likely he was trying to grip because it was unstable, and he popped it. It's pretty common. But if you, I believe FitPaws' warranty is, it's like 30 or 90 days. You'd have to look into it. But if you pop a peanut within that amount of time, they will replace it.
And then one of the questions was, are they going to make the larger Trax peanuts since they're others?
Right now, I don't believe they are, but that can change at any time. Unfortunately, I'm not an employee of FitPaws. I do use their equipment, and I teach for their program, but I'm not privy to all of those, all those pieces of information. I just know that at this time, they're not going to be doing another batch of the 70s and 80s.
And it looks like they did replace it. She did have.
Oh, good. Always like to hear that. All right. Any other questions before we move on?
Not at the moment.
Okay. All right. All right. I think I'm going to use, if I set this up, Danielle, and I'm on that side, will you be able to see all of drama?
I would tilt it towards the camera a little more.
What do you mean?
So like, yeah, kind of like better.
Better?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Oh, I can move it up a lot farther than that, actually. How about that?
Better. Even better.
A little bit. That's a little closer. Okay. All right. So we're often concentrating on rear end awareness. Trauma. You need to wait until I tell you to get up there. Come here. Lie down. Down. We're often talking about rear end awareness, and I think it's also important for us to focus on shoulders. And one of the ways that we can do that is doing a little bit lower level shoulder strength, because a lot of weight is distributed to the rear. But we're going to pull his weight forward and stretch through his pelvis while we're actually working shoulders. Right. So what we're going to do is, notice I'm not doing this. This is a bow and then a down. I'm going to pull him forward over the peanut so he bends his elbows. So this is going to stretch through here. It's going to lengthen through his back and work his biceps and triceps at the same time. The biggest mistake I see on this is people are doing this and they're like, I don't know why my dog won't stay up. And you have to bring them forward and then down. Good. And that's usually like a 2 to 3 second hold, and you can repeat it to start 5 times. But you want to make sure, again, that we're focusing on the whole body. Okay, now here is an exaggerated bow. I'm working his hip flexors as well as his shoulders. Good. Now see how, can you guys see that his rear legs are really wide? Danielle, can you tell?
I can, yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to show you is that you can fix that just by moving your peanut. Good. Hopefully you guys can all see the difference there. Good. Super. You can also add a push up here and then go back to a bow. Good. Okay. Oh. Come here. Pop it up. Down. Right, I basically wanted to show you guys several different combinations that you can use, because I think that the peanut gets a bad rap some ways in that they think that there's only a few things that you can do with it. But you can see here that you can pair it with different pieces of equipment to obtain a different focus. So in this situation, both of these exercises that I showed you, we're focusing on stretching the rear while also working the front. Those of you who go to the gym, you may experience things where they're asking you to do bicep curls and lunges or things like that. This is kind of simulating that same thought process of working those large muscle groups both at the same time. Any questions?
Not at the moment.
All right. So there's a ton of different combinations that you can do. You could put the disc here with it. You can do sit stands, you can do down stands, you can do the push-ups like I was just doing. I do want to show you the pelvic stretch, although you've probably seen it a million times. I personally like to do this without a holder so that the dog is actually holding the peanut. I did not tell you to go yet. Go. Okay, right here. All right, I'm going to ask him to reach back and come forward. Good, good, good. You can see that nice stretch through his butt, through his hamstrings. And what else are we working here? We're working shoulders again. Stand. Stand. Stretch, stretch. Good. 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 Oh, good boy. It is okay to put it in a holder for the stretch until the dog figures it out. But if the peanut is free, it teaches the dog to push back against the peanut to hold it still. And the only way I can really describe this to you guys is if you sit down on the floor and push through your heels, you'll feel a nice stretch through the back of your legs. Whereas if you're just relaxed, you don't really feel that. It's very similar to the same feeling that you feel when you touch the floor. So when we have the dog pushing back, then they're pushing into that stretch versus just sort of relaxing their legs and tipping their toes over. So, so there's good advantages to progressing to the peanut that is not stabilized for that stretch. Any questions?
How many treats does Drama eat in a session?
Well, when I'm doing something like this, a lot, because I tend to feed him while I'm talking. So he doesn't usually get his meal after something like this. Plus, it's asking a lot of a dog to stay focused for an hour or an hour and a half and demonstrating exercises. So I feel like he needs a high rate of reinforcement to stay with me and keep working. So I would say a lot. That's my answer. All right. In order for me to show you guys a high combination of exercises, yeah, he needs a lot of reinforcement. All right, so the next exercise I'm going to show is squats using a peanut. And there's a couple things that you need to know about this is you want the dog front feet up, but not on the top. So if I come to the top, he can grab the top and pull himself up. And we don't necessarily want that, but we might. If we're strengthening shoulders, we might want that. So we might want to do this with a small peanut. But if we're focusing on rear, this peanut is maybe a little bit too short for him. So I'm going to move to this one. Hang on. There we go. All right. Sit. Stand. Sit. Stand. Yeah. Uh-oh. Sit. Are you getting tired? Sit. Sit. Good. Good boy. All right, I won't make you do it anymore. So the goal is to keep his front feet on the peanut, but not grabbing the top unless we're working on shoulders, and really focus on his rear legs staying still. And if his front feet come off the peanut, we want him to be down on the floor before his feet come off. So we really want him to be loading those muscles in his rear legs all the way down before he helps with his front. Hopefully that makes sense. It can be done with any one of the peanuts. It just want to be size appropriate. Does anybody have any gigantic dogs that's listening?
No. Roddy's pretty big, depending.
Well, yeah, it depends on the Roddy, but yes, Roddies can be big.
105 pounds? That's it?
Huh?
105 pounds?
105 is big. Yeah. Yep, that's a big dog. So you would need, in order to do this exercise, you would need a one of the 70 or the 80 centimeter peanuts, or you would need something else that you can hold up. So for that exercise, it's not really necessary for it to be a peanut. Uh-oh. Yes. You can do it with an aerobic bench or another non-split surface that you can hold. So,
or the person could stand on the aerobic bench themselves and the peanut taller.
Yes, I have done that too, where you can stand on the aerobic bench and lean the peanut up on the aerobic bench with you to make the peanut taller. That's true. All right.
And 115 pound round.
Wow. Those are big Roddies. The ones that I used to walk two Rottweilers in my early 20s that they were protecting their owner's jewelry store, and I walked them every day on my lunch hour. So you can imagine one was 125 pounds and one was 135 pounds, and they walked side by side. It amazes me. Rottweilers are just they're just great dogs. And people would ask me, are they walking you or are you walking them? That's what I got all the time. Anyway, they're great dogs. All right. Thank you. All right. How many of you have climbs? We had that question earlier. A few had climbs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So where this works the best is having the climbs against a wall, but I have it turned out just so that you guys can see what I'm doing. The one thing that I will say is the new Trax peanuts. Put something between your wall and the Trax, whether it's the peanut or the donut. And the reason for that is it will take the paint right off your wall. Lie down, down. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this or not, but on the end of mine, can you see the white? I don't know if you can see it.
No,
probably not. Yeah. Well, there's there's paint on the end of mine, and there's white spots on spots on the wall where the paint is now not there. So just know that. I just throw a towel over them, and that protects your wall and keeps paint off your peanuts. For a Rottweiler, I will say this setup that I have here usually has a bone in the middle because they're longer typically. So front feet and rear feet would not be a natural distance apart for a Rottie or a longer back dog than Drama. So like I have Great Danes that I work with. We use the bigger peanuts and we use a bone in between. So you might have to adjust to get the right position for your dog. All right. Say. Okay. All right. So one of the things that I do is I like to put front feet higher than rear feet so that we're focusing on the rear. And of course, if I'm focusing on the front, it's the opposite of that. But I'm going to ask for it down and back to a stand and turn left I want him to use both of the peanuts when he turns left. Good. Oh. And see, the climb moved, and that's just because my floor is slippery. Right. Good. That was a better turn. I want him to use both peanuts, not turn on one. Left. Good. And I want that, see how he's straddling across the peanuts as he turns? Right. At the end of that one he did. Oh dear. Left. There. I want that straddling because that activates the psoas muscle in stabilization. It activates the core and it strengthens the inside and outside muscles of the rear leg. So he can get that full straddle on the two peanuts where he can't get that on one. Off. Off. Yeah. You guys may have seen the lateral plank. I think a soft plank is okay, but I don't do that in extremes. So you may notice that Drama is, he's straddling, laterally stepping, but he's not really extended. He's not going past what he naturally can do. So I don't push them past that just because it might lend to injury. I don't know, Danielle, can you see that very well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a question, I believe what she means is, would you put the peanuts in a holder?
For this exercise?
Yeah.
You definitely can. Like I could show it with these two holders. They have kind of the same problem that the climbs have because these particular holders don't weigh as much. So they might slide. So if he pushes off from one to the other, the peanuts could move. And I can't get them as close with the climb. Or I can't get them as close as I can without the holder. So let's see how it goes. Easy, left. That's kind of what I thought he was going to do. Yeah, so he thinks that this is too much of a height difference for him to offer the lateral step between. So I'm just going to flip the climb upside down really quick. Again, the climb makes it hard to get it close, but it does raise it up. And so that's probably too far for me to be super comfortable asking him to turn circles over to. So I'm not going to ask him to do that, just because that's going to ask him to spread his legs wider than I would like him to. Can everybody see the difference?
Yeah, you should throw the bone in there though, just so they can know what you were talking about before.
Well, I usually do that between two climbs, but yeah. Where this works is with hop forward and hop back, because it gives him something to hop over. Back, hop, back, hop, back, back. Good. Wait. Drama. Wait. Stand. Good. Good. All right. In this situation, it kind of sticks up a little bit too far, but normally you can fit this down there a little bit more, and then you don't have a hole. Sometimes I have stuffed small balance discs in that hole just to take up the space, so that if the dog does fall into the whole, they're falling into something. But again, I can't really shove anything in there that pushes it away, otherwise this one will slide. But there's ways that you can weight things down. Like if you made PVC holders, you could put rebar in your PVC holder that makes it more stable. You could buy the EMCO holders that actually have, they have longer legs, so you can put sandbags on them. You can, you know, I could have put this on a yoga mat to keep it from sliding better, things like that. So there's always things that you can do. I don't have rebar in my peanut holders just because I move them around a lot, and I don't want them to be heavy, taking them in and out to the car. So I manage it by standing on them. And if I'm doing another exercise, I manage it by putting the climbs against a wall, or putting the peanuts against a wall, squished between climbs. I might put 2 climbs on either end so that it weighs more, rather than using 1 climb on either side. And it does work better in some situations with 1 peanut versus 2. So like for instance, so I'm gonna leave it. If you take a climb, and a peanut. Those of you who don't have climbs, don't want climbs, do you have an ottoman and a couch? Ottomans and couches work really good as peanut holders. As long as your ottoman doesn't have wheels. That's one. That's that. That's that. That's that. That's that. Good. So this is just another way. I was just wanting to do a few things so you could see that it does stabilize 1 peanut a little bit better than 2, just because he doesn't have 1 to push off of. What often happens, especially with the bigger dogs, is the one in the back goes flying. So if you have these 2 peanuts, and you're asking the dog to do what I was just doing, having the dog push off of that one to come to this one, that one is likely to move because of the amount of pressure that they have to push it, and they weigh more. Drama is light-footed, so he doesn't move things around as much as some dogs would. All right. Any more questions so far?
Not that I see.
Okay. I do have a bunch, you know, a few exercises more that I wanted to show, but I want to ask you guys before I do that if there was something specific that you wanted to learn today, and if there's a specific exercise that you wanted to see. Nothing?
Crickets.
Crickets? All right, fine. Then I'll just keep going. I just never know what everybody wants to see. So, now peanuts can be used, or, you know, lots of different equipment can be used for limb lifts, but I'm just going to show you how you can train just 1 limb lateral lift. So, stand, paw, no, paw, 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 not that one. I know you have rear leg lifts. Paw, side, paw, this one. Drama. I know you have that one. Where's your paw? This way. Well, maybe I'm not going to show you because he doesn't want. He wants to do rise and lift. Good. Back. Foot. Where's your foot? No, foot. Yes, there it is. Foot. Foot. Drama. Foot. 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 Oh my gosh, you're tired. All right, well, I'm not going to ask him to do it anymore. But when you're training lateral lifts, it is nice to have a prop to use to ask the dog to reach higher. So oftentimes I start that with something like a feed bowl or even a bone. But once you get to getting them to really reach, you might want to go to a peanut, or even a cone works really well for that. Good boy. All right. All right, you guys are really quiet. Sure there's nothing you want to see? All right. So I already showed you the pelvic, what?
I'm just laughing. I already have a lot of work to do.
She's all, I'm done. All right. So I did show you the pelvic stretch with backing up to the peanut. I don't know that we really talked too much about the pelvic stretch coming up. So you can do that same pelvic stretch, asking the dog to really reach and pull himself up. And this will work the shoulder. So just like we were talking about when we did the squat, I can pull him up higher and get him to work his shoulders and stretch through his pelvis. But if I want him to squat, I want him to come up without gripping the top of the peanut. Hopefully that makes sense.
There was a question, how do you teach him to put his back legs up?
It's just an extension of back up. So how I would start it would be, I would teach them to back up on the flat. I never ever teach back up to something raised, because I don't want the dog to, think that back up looks like this. I want them to think that back up looks like this, and then when they get to something, to reach their legs. So the first thing I might do is take 2 legs off the climb platform, or use a angled board, non-slip board, or something like that. But once they know to reach up, then you just add the peanut. Good. Back, 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 back. Good. So this peanut is pretty low. So he could literally, as long as he had weight, he could put his feet pretty low. Back, back, back. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
I believe so. Yes.
All right. So the other thing is that a lot of people used to, I find this to be very difficult for most dogs. A lot of people used to try to do it this way, but with much taller peanuts. And you can do that, but I find that most dogs' legs will come off, plus, and it may be my short arms, but even with Drama, in order to stabilize the peanut, I'm really stretching hard to get him out there. So it's really, if you don't have something on the other side of here to stabilize it and not have this slide, then it reduces your ability to stretch all the way to that full stretch. So you can do that. It's just, you might have to do it with a climb or your couch so that you can be further away and the peanut is stabilized. Okay. Up. Up. Sit. Good boy. All right. I will say that I just released him incorrectly. So you should not come out here and say, okay, and have them do that. You should back them up in a stretch to release the tension. So come out here to stretch, come back, and then release them. Muscles are often, they're very much like rubber bands, and they can, when they're overstretched and then they power into movements, they can break. So you don't want to release in the middle of a stretch. You want to release that tension and then move them off the equipment. All right. Any other questions?
Somebody had to run to agility class.
No worries.
And then if you have a small dog, do you work with the bone with this exercise?
Yes, absolutely. With a small dog, I would just put, I'll be honest, can you get off for a sec so you don't? Okay. I use my peanut holder or my climb, and I put the bone at an angle. I'm going to use the climb just because it's convenient. So you can use your couch. You just put it at an angle. And then step back. And then have them stretch forward. It's actually a perfectly fine stretch or piece of equipment to use for this size dog as well.
And then I'll use the slanted climb you have behind you and put the bone on the other side.
Oh, on the bones with the legs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can actually, for those of you, not that this is a climb workshop, but you, oh, with it against the front?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so you can put it here, or you can actually put it up here as well.
I meant the back side.
Oh, the back side? Okay. Well, that's the same as that.
Right, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Like, that's the same exactly thing, only just angled. All right. But, yeah, so your taller dogs, can you back? You can do it this way. So I have lots and lots and lots of clients that have a tiny dog and several bigger dogs, and this is a great option for them. The small dog, if they can find a spot low on the peanut, which many of them do, they can still use it. They do not have to be up on the top. They can find whatever spot is comfortable for them.
Yep.
So don't feel like they have to do like that spider up the wall thing. They can literally put their feet right here when it's down or, you know, really low and still get that stretch. All right. Any other questions?
I think I've got everything.
All right. Well,
No?
just for
bench. Somebody, could you put your bench up close to the camera to show the texture?
Yes, I can. I'm not gonna lie, just got this yesterday. And at $100, I wasn't willing to buy it. At $58, I was. So let me angle the camera down and see if I can. I think the problem is the lighting. So this one has ribbing this way. Can you see that?
Not really.
Or does it just look black?
So, oh, there you go. That's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll show it again. Has the ribbing. All right. And this one has more like a pebbly,
Like
more of a rubbery grip. Can you see it?
What brand name is the new one? I think it's the same one. I think
it's the same. The Step.
Yeah.
My arms weren't long enough. Hate it when that happens. Yeah, it's just a better surface. And so I got it because I do a lot of incline downs and stands and sits and stands and turns. And if I throw a yoga mat over my aerobic bench, then the mat is too wide. So I have to fold the mat in half. Sometimes the mat moves, depends on the dog. I just wanted one that I could use in any situation without having to add something else to it. Plus, when I'm traveling, it makes it so if they can buy those ones, then it makes it so that they don't have to have yoga mats and other things. So anyway. All right. Any other questions? Is there anything specific? I know sometimes when you take webinars, you have something in mind that you want to learn. Was there something specific that you wanted to know about? There's 1,000 things I could show you. I just picked kind of a smattering, and I think the most important thing was how to stabilize it and how to use it in the stabilized pieces. Sorry, I don't have an IMCO holder, but I think you guys can look that up on your own.
As Kurt's wife says, you're a good shopper.
I am a good shopper. $58 for that bench.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
And drama pink tail question mark?
Yes, his tail is pink. It was kind of a because I have pink in my hair, I made some smart remark about making Drama's tail pink, and then my family kind of dared me to do it. So I have some shampoo that has pink in it. I just put the shampoo in his tail and it turned it pink. But yes, his tail is pink. And I have no idea how long it will be that way. So whether I like it or not, it's going to have to be there until it grows out or whatever.
So have you bathed him since?
I have not yet. It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So anyway, any other questions relevant to working with the peanut?
What? Pink tail is very important information.
I suppose. All right. Well, with that, you guys, I want to thank you all for joining me. I will be downloading the recording of the webinar so that you guys can watch it. It'll be available to you for about 3 months. If you know somebody that can benefit from the information, they can still buy the recording if they want it. So, you know, please let them know. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me. And hopefully some of you are also going to join me for the donut workshop, or I'm sorry, webinar in a couple of weeks. I will be demonstrating things that you can do with 1 donut, things you can do with 2 donuts, and how to pair other equipment with the donuts. And I will use the old blue donut as well as the new Trax donut. So if you guys are interested in that, please sign up. If you're not, no big deal. And other than that, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
All right.